Welcome back to the Pine Hockey Eagles postgame show live from Ocean Casino. I am Mike Missinelli. In case you're joining us and you didn't see the game, which it's impossible if you're an Eagles fan. The Eagles win at 25-11 tonight. DeAndre Swift for 130 yards, 16 carries. Jalen Hurts 277, touchdown, 2 picks, did rush for a touchdown. You know, if you look at this game, the Eagles. It looked like a lackluster performance. They had 478 total yards tonight, 201 on the ground, and Kenneth Gainwell added 43 in this game, and 277 in the air. A.J. Brown, 131, and he was targeted 14 times tonight. He had a long at 28. So A.J., who wasn't happy with last week's result, has to be happy with this week's result. John McMullen will join us in a little bit. Right now, it is time to bring in Kayla Santiago on the Pine Hockey Eagles postgame show with Kayla's Diamond Debate, and she's wearing some diamonds.
I am, guys, from Mark Jewelers. I don't know if you can see, I got some nice bling here today. It feels just as nice as the Eagles being 3-0 right now, so I do have to be very, very happy here today. But there's a lot that went into this game. Philadelphia 3-0, and some people might say they're still not even playing their best football yet, but some things have been very, very good. The offensive line and that defensive line, and we saw that on display here tonight. A little bit of Jalen Carter, a little bit of Jordan Davis, and everybody else in between. Seth, I'm going to start with you. Your biggest reason right now that Philadelphia is 3-0?
I think you'd have to say that the defense's play, and particularly the defensive line, because they've been dominant. They started off the first 2 games of the season. They gave up a lot of yards through the air, but they only gave up what's the numbers here I'm looking at? They only gave up a total of 146 yards passing tonight. So that's going to help them statistically. They only gave up 41 yards on the ground. They are giving up somewhere in the neighborhood of less than 70 yards per game, I believe. So when you look at how dominant they've been on the defensive side of the ball, I just feel like, they have carried this offense, so to speak. They're averaging almost 2.5 turnovers per game. That's huge. I just, when you look at the overall team play, they have been the most consistent unit out of the 3 phases of the football team. Now, the offense came on tonight a little more, but the defense still carried the day, in my opinion.
I want to focus on Jalen Carter a little bit, too, because this kid is a rookie, and he already looks like a monster out there. Just what should we expect from him as the season continues to go on? Is he going to be one of the best defensive players possibly in the league this season, or is it too early to tell?
Well, I think he's going to be the top, defensive rookie this year. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of great players out there that are more experienced and more established. But as time goes on, the more and more he plays, and they've got enough in the rotation. Tui Pelotu had his first sack tonight.
Right.
Then you got Milton Williams. You've got enough guys in the rotation that he doesn't have to play so many downs, that he gets worn out. This is going to be new for him. In college, they play 12, 13 games in a season. He's got to have enough gas in the tank to go 17 plus. So I think the more he plays, the better he's going to get, the more experience he's going to get. But he's definitely, in the conversation for one of the better defensive tackles in the National Football League in his rookie year.
No, the perfect combination for the Eagles tonight, Kayla. They held Tampa Bay to 174 total yards tonight, 4.9 yards per pass attempt. Now, that's paltry. And they dominated the line of scrimmage, 39 minutes time possession to 21 for Tampa Bay. And you saw the Tampa Bay defense was just ground up by the end, 27 first downs to 12, D-Gun.
I look at it like this. This is a defense that is still trying to figure out its identity because you have so many new parts integrated in this defense. But they have a good measure of success as they continue to evolve. And the coordinators and the defensive coaches are still experimenting with a lot of what they want to do with certain personnel and downs and distance. And when you have the young players like the Blankenships, like the Jalen Carters, who are playing the way they're playing now, it makes a lot of decisions that much easier depending on your personnel matchups and the down and distance as well. Can you imagine when this defense actually gels and formulates an identity? You know, we see samples of it now. It's a defense that's going to be stout in the trenches, and this is going to be an opportunistic defense. I mean, this defense, you know, say what you want to say about it, this defense is directly responsible for some of the success of this offense in terms of shortening the field and giving them an opportunity. Even though the offense has been jagged, it is still an explosive unit with a lot of depth and versatile talent on it. So the defense in general has not coagulated to the point we expect to see it by week 7, week 8. But, man, the sample sizes we're seeing right now are so promising of what's to come.
The defense has also scored 8 points this year.
Right.
Themselves.
Did you just say coagulated?
Yes, I did.
Big word there.
That's very impressive.
That's my word for the month. That's all I got. My head's hurting right
You want to
now.
impress me?
Defense hasn't even coagulated
You want to
yet.
impress me? Spell it.
What's that? All right, what's the next question?
We can move on here. We talk about this defensive front, but I want to go into that linebacking core and even the secondary as well. We talked about James Bradbury playing at nickelback today. You guys, some of you weren't a fan of it, some of you liked it and understood it, but it's very, very young, but they're playing their part right now. And do you think this is a Sean Desai move? Do you feel like he's giving the confidence to these guys? Why is it working so well, knowing that they're not the most experienced groups right now in the league?
Well, I think that I'm impressed the way that Nicholas Morrow and Zach Cunningham have played. Everyone was worried when Nakobe Dean went down, but these guys have played some great football in his absence. And the more experience that they get, the better. Now, they want Nakobe Dean to be the guy. Right. He's got to get healthy and come back and kind of work himself back into shape and the whole deal, you know, because he is, you know, kind of the captain of the defense from the linebacker perspective. But these guys have played some pretty darn good football, you know, the last 2 weeks. As far as the other young guys are concerned, he's playing these guys out of necessity, you know. And I talked about it in the first segment, you know. Every time a guy gets injured, it's unfortunate, but it's also an opportunity for somebody else to step up and show the rest of the coaching staff what they can do to garner some more playing time. The better they play, the more the coaches can begin to trust them, so that over time, even when the other guys get back, you know, they're going to get some reps here or there, because now you can start to rest players, and when guys do get nicked up, you can confidently insert another player, knowing that he can get the job done because he's shown you that he could do it when you had to play him.
You know, it's amazing. We don't even notice who the linebackers are anymore, right? Which I think is a good thing, right? Yeah. We're not noticing who they're playing back there.
Listen, I'll tell you what. You know, when you don't hear the linebacker's name, that's a good thing.
It's a good night.
But you know, I mean, they're not putting up great numbers. Like between the two of them, they only had like 7 tackles tonight. Right. But Zach Morrow made the tackle in the end zone for the safety, you know, and they're handling what they need to handle in the middle of the field. You know, the last 2 games, it hasn't been that bad across the middle of the field. So, you know, while the numbers might not indicate that they're doing a whole lot, you know, sometimes it's not really about the numbers. Sometimes it's driven by how you play and where you make the quarterback look away from, opposed to where he really wants to go with the football.
Oh, I think the front 4 are definitely making the back 7's job a lot easier.
Absolutely.
With the pressure they've been putting on, you know, and forcing quarterbacks to be extremely uncomfortable. They're not allowing quarterbacks to get in the rhythm, whether it's a 3, 5, or 7-step drop. The quarterbacks are now matter of fact, they're taking 1, 2, 3 and moving to the side. So they're not setting their feet, and they have to come off a primary target a lot sooner than they want to, looking for second and third targets. And by the time they realize that, pressure's converging on.
D-Gun, the only way that you're going to have success against this defensive line is you have to throw the ball like Mac Jones did. If you're not playing, you know, the quick game, if you're not 3-step and you're not getting that ball out of your hands right now, you don't have the time to wait for explosive plays down the field to develop. You just don't. You know, unless the Eagles are in a blitz situation and the quarterback pre-snap reads it and they get the protection set in a way where they can pick it up, they're not going to have more than 2 or 3 seconds to get the ball down the field just because of the pass rush.
What offensive line in the NFL do you think can compete with the rotation and these guys like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis? Because right now you see these two guys in the first 3 games and you say, well, yeah, the rest of the league definitely has something to worry about. Is there any games that we look towards to that you think they're going to have a problem, or this pressure will continue and make it easier for the guys that are less experienced at getting more reps?
The 2 games, D-Gun, on the schedule that worries me is, from the standpoint of what you're saying, the only 2 is the Miami offensive line, because they have so many weapons that they can go to the quick game, and San Francisco's offensive line, because of how they run their offense. They're not a big strike offense. They're quick, and they want to run the football. So that's going to be a great test to see how the Eagles' run defense stands up to their, to Christian McCaffrey in that running game. But also, Brock Purdy is not looking to throw the ball down the field. They want to systematically, the short game. And the Cowboys, to a certain extent, they got work yesterday, but they also had 3 starting offensive linemen that were out yesterday.
Very good offensive line. I'll give you a couple of other offensive lines that can give them a problem. Kansas City and Buffalo's offensive lines that can give them a problem because of their style also. They're not an overpowering, but they know how to stonewall you just enough for their quarterbacks to do what they want to do. And if you watch them play, they move you to a position to allow a quarterback to get to the opposite position and to have a better lane. Buffalo and Kansas City's offense and Buffalo's offensive lines don't get enough credit for what they do to make their quarterbacks the stars that they are.
But I tell you, the Buffalo game is going to be an interesting game because, Buffalo can't and don't even try to run the football.
No.
So that plays right into the Eagles' hands from the standpoint of, we've got a great team, a great front that can rush the passer. And so now we can get out after Josh Allen. If we can keep him corralled and keep him in the pocket, we've got some chances, if we can get the coverage to match on the back end. Kansas City, I can't wait to see, us play them on a field that will allow us to rush the passer to the capacity that we can rush it. You all know what I'm talking about. I'm not even going to go there again, but you know what I mean. Okay, the teams, and I'm not really worried about those 2. The 2 that really concern me, like I said, is Miami and
49ers.
And 49ers. That, to me, those are going to be the 2 biggest tests.
And talking about the offensive line, D-Gun, you said those offensive lines might be a problem. I think right now what's getting overshadowed, maybe not, but for the Eagles, just their offensive line. DeAndre Swift is doing his thing out there, but that offensive line has really been creating for those guys. A lot of protection for Jalen Hurts when he needs to get the ball out as well. You look at this line right now, you look at Dickerson, who just got injured in this game. You look at Johnson as well, a little bit of those false starts that don't get called. Is this something that is really going to be the successor for the Eagles as the season goes on? And does this cause Nick Sirianni to say, DeAndre Swift, you're the guy, you're going to get the ball way more than Kenny Gainwell right now? We saw that tonight.
Well, this offensive line is basically picked up from where it left off last year. My concern about the offensive line the first 2 games was that it was inconsistent in the pass blocking. I thought they did a much better job in the pass blocking aspect now. But in terms of moving people off the ball, look at those gaping holes that DeAndre Swift was running through tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, running backs would drool at the prospect. I mean, I want to see the yardage that he had before he was touched after he crossed the line of scrimmage. There was times he wasn't touched until 6-7 yards down the field. That's a statement. When the offensive line does that consistently, especially to a defensive front that takes pride in being a stout defensive front, they basically just steamroll Tampa Bay's defensive front in this game. And that's going to be, for Jalen to have success, that offensive line has to be what we expect it to be. It has to be stout in the run game to give the defense something to think about and soften them up. And it also has to be better consistently, as it was tonight, in the pass blocking technique. So Jalen has the time to stand back there and wait for one of his receivers to get open down.
You know what I love about this game tonight is that, we went into this game, the Eagles went into this game tonight, and everybody was worried that we weren't going to be able to run the ball, okay, because we're playing against the best run defense in the National Football League through 2 weeks. And we went in there and just gave them the business, Right. So what does that tell you? That tells you that you can pretty much run the darn ball on anybody you want to.
Yep.
And of the teams that I talked about that I'm worried about, the team I'm worried about in the run game the most is the 49ers. The 49ers got some they got some grown they got some grown men and some grown dogs on that defensive line. So that's going to be a great matchup to see in the trenches how that plays out.
By the way, I don't know if Vita Vea played a lot tonight. He had 3 tackles, but I didn't really see much of him on the field, which really helped the Eagles the way they were gashing them. In any event, that was Kayla's Diamond Debate. Coming up, John McMullen will join us live from Tampa Bay with his spin as he covered the game down there tonight. The Eagles win it 25-11. The Pine Hockey Eagles postgame show continues right here from Ocean.
Hello,
And welcome
to the Diamond Debate
with Liam and Hillary.
in the heart of Montgomeryville, PA at Mark's Jewelers.
So what do you've got for us today, Hillary?
Well, Liam, to kick off this football season, there's no deflate gate here. There's a 3-carat oval diamond. It's earth mined and it's completely natural. What do you think of that?
Now that's stunning. I mean, millions of years under the Earth's crust for something so small and beautiful.
You think she's small?
Well, I mean, do you have anything bigger?
Of course, I've got bigger.
I mean, bigger's always better.
That's what they say. Well, I've got an earth mined natural 5-carat oval diamond. Was that big enough for you?
Wow.
5 carats?
That's a carat a finger. That's something right there. I can't imagine anybody saying no to one of these.
No, I guess not.
Do you have anything smaller, maybe?
Smaller is subtle and definitely beautiful still, and it's still fabulous. An earth mined oval diamond set in a solitaire setting. This comes in 14-carat yellow and white, 18-carat yellow, white, and platinum. Any way you want it. What do you think?
I mean, any way you want it. I can't imagine it any better, any different way.
That's right. So come down and see us here at Mark's Jewelers, where love grows here.
Every day of the week except Mondays and Sundays.
That's right. We're closed.